Good morning and welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. My name is Ben Ryan, Clerk to the Committee. Can I just check that everyone that's coming in via Zoom can hear us loud and clear? Just raise your hand or say hello.
Yes, good morning.
I'm opening this meeting today as both our chairman of the subcommittee and vice chairman, Councillor Phil Barnett, is here as a ward member. And Councillor Paul Dick cannot sit on this meeting today. So we need to elect a chairman. So can I just start by asking, is there any nominations for chairman?
Yes, I nominate Councillor Taylor.
And do we have a seconder for that proposal?
Yes, I'd be happy to second that.
Are there any other nominations? No. So can we just vote on that proposal by a raise and show of hands? Fantastic. That has been passed. Councillor Clive Taylor will be now taking over as chairman. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this morning's meeting of the West Berkshire Licensing Subcommittee. Before we start, can I please ask that everyone present switch off their mobile phones? Thank you. So I'm taking that everybody has already done that. Thank you very much. I would like to confirm that the application we will be hearing today is for the Racecourse Food and Wine 4A, Hambridge Road, Newbury, RG14 5SS. I am Councillor Clive Taylor and I am supported at this morning's subcommittee by Councillor Nigel Foote and Councillor Paul Kander. The legal advisor to the subcommittee is Thea Nolly, and Ben Ryan will maintain a record of the proceedings. Sadie Owen is the Zoom host. Although this is a hybrid meeting, all parties to the meeting are present in the chamber. Please note that this meeting is being webcast and recorded. Parties should therefore be mindful of this and bear this in mind in terms of the information shared during the hearing. I will set out the order in which people will be asked to speak. If at the appropriate point anyone wishes to ask a question, please raise your hand. If we need to adjourn the meeting at any point, I will adjourn and all parties will be advised of the revised time and date of the meeting. If we hear the evacuation alarm this morning, we must leave the building immediately. Please proceed via the safe emergency exit route, which will be shown to us by the trained officers present. Please follow any instructions given by them. The assembly point is the car park of the Dolphin Public House. Anyone requiring assistance should notify the officers. If the lockdown alarm sounds, we will remain seated and await instructions from officers. We will adjourn the meeting until such time as it is safe to proceed. Does anyone? Could I just check that the applicant has heard what I've just said? Hello, is the applicant there on the Zoom call?
I can see he's here. I did see him earlier on SatPal.
Okay. Are you? So you're happy for me to proceed? Okay. Can I confirm that the applicant Satpal Singh Madhan is attending today in person?
No, it's on Zoom.
He's on Zoom. Thank you. Can I confirm that the following objector is attending in person and intending to speak? That's Ken Amor. Thank you. Can I I don't need to ask that. Yeah, no. All other objections submitted in writing will be taken into consideration by the panel when they make their determination on this matter. I will now go on to explain how these meetings are conducted. The council's licensing officer, Philippa Heath, will introduce the application, after which the calling of parties will take place in the following order. Representations by the applicant, Satpal Singh Madhan, and is Patrick Burke.
Patrick Burke is here by Zoom.
Okay. Representations by objectors, representations by ward members, and summing up by the applicant. Remember, each individual or group has 10 minutes in which to make their case, and this should take into account the Licensing Act's 4 objectives, which are the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, the prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Ben Ryan will be timing the 10 minutes, and I will notify you when you have 1 minute left. Once all representations have been made and all questions asked, I will close the meeting. After this, the members will meet privately to make a decision, and a written decision notice will be issued to interested parties setting out the verdict as soon as possible, but in any event, within 5 working days of the hearing. Now, can I just check that everybody is happy that they understand the procedure for the hearing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to remind all parties present that this is a public meeting and that the meeting will be webcast on YouTube. It is therefore necessary to remind attendees again that they are in a public forum and to ask participants to bear this in mind in terms of anything said during the meeting. Now, can I ask whether there are any members, whether there are any declarations of interest? No. No.
Sorry, no.
No. Okay, and I have none either. If everyone is ready, we will now get started. Could I please ask Philippa Heath, the licensing officer, to proceed with introducing the application? The red light should come on.
Good morning, everybody. Can you all hear me?
Yes, thank you.
My name is Philippa Heath. I'm an interim licensing officer with the Public Protection Service. Can I ask whether members have all read the report? Yeah, good. Now introduce the application. On the 2nd of August 2023, the Licensing Authority received an application from Satpal Singh Madhan for a new premises licence to be granted under Section 17 of the Licensing Act 2003. The application relates to a premises located at 4A Hambridge Road, Newbury, called the Racecourse Food and Wine. The application has been recorded on the licensing database under reference number 22283. The application was validated on the 3rd of August 2023, and the consultation end date was the 30th of August. So a copy of the application, including the location map and plan, are on your reports. So you can see the plan and the application for you to have a look at. The application sought to obtain the following licensing activities: sale of alcohol off the premises only, Monday to Sunday from 7 o'clock to 2300 hours. I can confirm that it was made in accordance with the Act, and responsible authorities, ward members and the parish council were notified the application by email on the 3rd of August. The application was advertised in accordance with regulations, with the required blue notice being placed at premises and an officer from Public Protection Partnership, and the advert was placed in Newbury Weekly News. You will note from the report that the council has not received presentations from other responsible authorities, police and trading standards and health and safety. but received 6 representations deemed valid from what's known as other persons. Their overall concerns noted in the representations were related to the potential for antisocial behaviour, subsequent public nuisance, and that granting of the licence could undermine all 4 of the licensing objectives. So the representations are noted. I think that I haven't got a copy of the report to hand, I've got my own, but they're on the back of the report today, the reps for members to have a look at, and you've probably seen it. So, points of interest. So we've got what I'm noted here, the points of interest for members. Please note that I've put into the report requested a license to license a unit, which was the former Sandwich Cafe bar and now an empty unit. The unit has a frontage of a large forecourt car parking space and electric security shutters. The nearest off license is a supermarket about half a mile away at the end of Hambridge Road, which is Sainsbury's, and their hours are 7 o'clock to 2300. There's also a pub there, about half a mile away from the unit, and the hours of trading from 12 o'clock to 2200.
Yeah. We're about 200 yards away.
About 200 yards away. Okay, that's Google for you. So the applicant offered up several conditions to support the 4 licensing objectives, namely CCTV, an incident/refusal register, accredited training for staff, sort of a learning course, signs to remind customers to leave quietly upon leaving, and he offered up some sort of risk assessment regarding public safety. As relevant reps were made, members must determine the application. The reps were made in relation to the licensing objectives, and members must determine the likely effect of the grant of the premises licence on the promotion of the licensing objectives. So members must have regard to the promotion of the 4 licensing objectives, namely prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. And this is in exercising its functions under the Licensing Act. Further regard should be added to the statutory guidance under Section 182 of the Act and the Council's own statement of licensing policy. So the options available to members are set out on the front page of the report. If you want to have a quick look at them, refresher, see what they are. Members should be aware of a number of stated cases which have appeared before Administrative Court and are binding on the local authority. I refer to the Daniel Thwaites versus Wirral Borough Magistrates Court at the High Court of Justice, Queen's Bench Division. In the case, it was summed up that a licensing authority must have regard to guidance issued by the Secretary of State under Section 182. Licensing authorities may depart from it if they have reason to do so, but will need good reason for their actions. Furthermore, the Thwaites case established that only conditions should be attached to a licence with a view to promoting the licensing objectives, and that real evidence must be presented to support the reason for imposing conditions. This judgment is further supported in the case of Queen's on the application of Bristol Council versus Bristol Magistrates on the 24th of February 2009, in which it was said licensing authorities should only impose conditions which are necessary and proportionate for the promotion of the licensing objectives. In addition to this, it was stated that any condition attached to the licence should be an enforceable condition. Members are reminded to consider all the information in front of them and not be swayed by hearsay and or to take in irrelevant matters when making their decision. They must strike a balance between the rights of the applicant and the interests of the wider community. This concludes my report. And I didn't have my glasses with me.
Okay, thank you very much. Can I ask members of the committee whether you have any questions for the licensing officer? Yes, Nigel, please go.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, could I ask, could you just elaborate a little bit on the applicant and the process by which they are deemed a fit and proper person. We noticed from the papers that the applicant already has a license approved. But can you just elaborate a little bit on what checks and background checks, etc., are made to ensure that the person is suitable to hold a license? Thanks.
Well, from what I gather, the applicant already has a personal license, which was, I haven't got the details of when it was granted. It would have been granted by a local authority. So when he made that application, he would have had to carry out a basic criminal record check, and that would have gone to the police. So they would have checked on the register. And once that, they're happy with that, he would have been granted a personal license as a matter of course. So, or when you make an application premises license, the Act states that the person to oversee the day-to-day running of the business has to have a personal license, and they become a designated premises supervisor. So once, as we say, he's made an application, he's put himself forward as DPS, and a copy of the application had gone to the responsible authority, namely the police, trading standards. And if they have no concerns or anything like that, they won't put in a representation. So as far as we're concerned, we can only look at it, as a case-by-case basis, and to be assumed that the police had no concerns regarding Mr. Forgive me, Munrin as DPS. So that's what we can go by.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Nothing from me, thank you.
Can I just one almost sort of administrative type question? You referred to a number of legal cases.
You're not going to ask me to elaborate on that, are you?
No. I was just going to. Well, are they contained in the report that was issued?
No, that's my speech. So
that's your speech. Okay, I just
as a licensing officer, it's to remind members that before they make a decision, that there are case reports on it, and it's to remind members that you've got to be familiar with the Thwaites case. It's a fairly old case which was brought in, where I believe the case the police wanted to put all these conditions on, and it obviously they went to appeal and went on and on and on to the Queen's. And so the ruling is, as I've said, that any conditions have to be enforceable, and not, you can't, because it's a new application, you can't comment on something that hasn't happened yet. You can't assume.
I understand.
But you can put in relevant representations to support the licensing objectives. Mainly we're talking about the prevention of crime and disorder, aren't we? So what measures? You have to decide whether the applicant has put in enough conditions on his license to support the licensing objectives. And he has done that, like over at Sainsbury's and all the rest of it. You see what I mean? And that, so Thwaites was just an emphasis on, to take into account.
Okay, thank you. Now, can I check there are no further questions from members of the committee? Could I then ask if either the applicant or objectors would like to ask any questions of the licensing officer?
No questions, thank you.
Yes.
Have you considered the amount of glass that's going to be served and taken away from those premises? On a busy race day, for example, throughout the weekend, where...
Not there yet. That's a question for the applicant.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Is there any technical questions you want to ask me?
No.
That's all.
Okay, I think the applicant said he didn't wish to ask any questions.
No questions, thank you.
No, thank you very much. And thank you, Philippa, for your presentation. Thank you. Could I now ask the applicant, Satpal Singh, Badhan, and Patrick Burke to make your representations? You will have 10 minutes in total to do so. Could I ask whether you would like to be reminded at any point as to the time reached during that 10 minutes?
Yes, please.
Are you sharing the time?
No, I'm going to do all the talking. Thank you.
Unless you ask others, I'll remind you 1 minute from, once you get to the 9-minute mark, I'll let you know you have 1 minute left.
Thank you.
Please go ahead.
I think Philip has covered a lot of what I was going to say. This, as you've been told, is a former cafe. SAPPAL wishes to open it as a general store and off licence. For the benefit of the objectors, the application, when an application is submitted, copies of the application go to the police, the fire service, trading standards, planning, the environmental health, the body that's concerned with the welfare of children, the Home Office. They all get a copy of the application. None of those responsible authorities have raised any objections. They haven't even made a comment on this application. The applicant already has a number of similar shops in and around Newbury and a club premises in Ascot that is run for some time without any issues. This club is frequented by racegoers to Ascot races. So he's used to dealing with a lot of the issues and concerns that were raised by the objectors. The objection from Stephen Ward states there are already enough outlets in Newbury selling alcohol. The number of already licensed premises in an area is not relevant to this application. States the new off license would take more trade from already struggling pubs. Again, this is not relevant. States it would encourage underage drinking. There is no evidence of this. This has never been a licensed premises before, and my client has a wealth of experience within this business without issues. Within the application, we've stated we will operate Challenge 25. States it would encourage street drinking. There's no evidence of this. There's no objections from the police or any of the other responsible authorities. States on busy race days, the selling of relatively cheap alcohol in glass bottles is strongly discouraged by the police. The police haven't asked for any conditions with regards to race days. What my client is happy to do would be to employ extra staff purely to do litter collections and things like that along the main street. He's quite happy to do that, but it hasn't been requested by the police or any of the other responsible authorities. States there would be more antisocial behaviour. There's no evidence of this, and there's no objections from any of the responsible authorities. Again, questions the need for another licence. Sorry, the representation 2 again questions the need for another licensed premises. Not relevant to this application. States the name suggests the shop is aiming to attract racegoers from Newbury races. The name is just the name of the shop because of where the location is. That's it. He's got another shop in that is called Your Village Store because it's in Your Village. Again, refers to cheap alcohol being sold on race days. I'm not an avid race goer, but I've been to a variety of race meetings: Wolverhampton, Worcester, Warwick, Stratford, Cheltenham. From my experience, racegoers are not allowed to bring their own food and drink onto the course. There is adequate facilities for eating and drinking at the course. At no time when I personally have been to a race meeting, either as part of a corporate event or a small or large private party, did we ever buy alcohol from a local shop, either prior to or after leaving the event. States the old apprentice uses only plastic containers when dispensing liquor on race days. This is a business for people to buy alcohol to take home and drink at home. It is not a pub. The police have obviously viewed this application as a different business to a pub and has not asked for additional conditions to be added. So must be satisfied with the conditions offered within the application. Number 3, representation again refers to plastic glasses on race days and concerns it will drive a public house out of business, not relevant to this application. Again, 4 again refers to concerns regarding race days and steps taken by the pub on race days. My client is happy, as we've said, on race days to have extra litter pickups. My client will have CCTV cameras covering the inside and outside of his premises. This objector states she has no concerns other than race days. 5, expresses concerns that customers will use the shop to buy alcohol and sit in the beer garden of the pub. I've been around the licensed trade all my life. I've run pubs, I've run restaurants, wine bars, nightclubs, social clubs. I've been a pub company area manager, some of which have been very close to off licence. I've never had a situation where people have brought food and drink from elsewhere and sat in my beer garden or ate or drank their own food in my pub. It just hasn't, in my experience, and I ran pubs for over 30 years, never happened. Mr. Amor from the London Apprentice again expresses concerns regarding people buying from the shop and using the pub facilities. We're happy to display notices asking customers not to use the pub facilities. This is a service for people to buy goods to take home. Also expresses concerns regarding the race days. My client will employ extra staff on race days to specifically deal with extra litter pickups, street sweeping, etc. And again, with regards to this, I know Philip has already referred to the case of Thwaites v. Wirral. I was going to refer to it in more detail, but it also states that decisions on licensing should be made on evidence and not based on speculation. This premises has never been used to sell alcohol before. Therefore, any references to what might happen with regards to race days, what might happen with regards to underage drinking, is pure speculation. My client has years of experience of running similar businesses and running a club that is frequented on race days at Ascot. So he's used to dealing with all of these customers, with all of these type of customers. He's not had any issues in any of the premises that he currently runs. And I think that's all I've got to say at the moment. I will sum up at the end if I can, and be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Okay, can I then initially ask members of the committee if you have any questions for the applicant? No. From the licence officer ask question. Okay, I understand I can use my discretion. I will allow you to ask a question.
Yeah, this is a question for the agent. You've said you offered to offer up litter collection and extra staff. Members will need to know whether you're looking to offer this up as a condition on the licence or not.
Yeah, we'd be quite happy to offer that as a condition on the licence with regards to race days. No problem at all.
Sorry, one further question from me then, if I may.
Yes, please go ahead.
There's no reference in the conditions to the external CCTV, but it is on the drawing. So does the drawing take precedence, or would it have to be part of the condition?
The plan that's offered up, where the line goes all the way around it,
yeah,
that becomes that's the licensable area. So the application just says CCTV on the premises. So anything within the red line is on the premises. So
it shows
red
two
line
on the outside of the red line.
Sorry?
It shows 2 CCTV cameras on the outside of the red line by the entrance, as if they're external, pointing out.
Okay,
that's correct. There will be CCTV.
Yeah, could I just come in, because we are asking questions now of the applicant. So, yeah, Patrick, if you want to answer that question as well, go ahead.
We will cite CCTV cameras covering the external of the premises as shown on the plan.
Okay, thank you. Now, can I ask objectors if they have any questions for the applicant? No. Okay. Okay, I'd like to thank the applicant, Satpal and Patrick, for your presentation. I would now like to invite objector Ken Amor to make your representations. Again, you have up to 10 minutes. Would you like, we'll let you know when you get to 9, if you're good to go. Okay, if you get that far. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I have two main concerns around the selling of the alcohol as a takeaway there. Obviously, once the off license is served those people and they've left, they're certainly beyond their control. We already experience a certain element, I'll call it that, I don't really know best to describe them, that arrive along Kings Road and Hambridge Road after being in Sainsbury's, and often they alight on our decking in the front area and sit and drink their alcohol. Now, I have to go out and ask those people to move quite regularly when it happens, because they shouldn't be drinking alcohol that hasn't been purchased on the premises. So that's one of my big concerns. Secondly, on a race day, again, the off license will be selling alcohol, not necessarily to race goers, but in more likelihood, yes. Again, that's in glass. Now, the race course, the Crucible, myself, all use plastic on a race day. Now, that isn't a condition of my license, but when I took the pub on, I had a visit from the licensing authorities, and I was advised to use plastic, and a dim view would be taken if a glass incident happened, and it may affect my license. So those precautions happen every race day. And again, the applicant will have no control over that once the alcohol is sold, whether they come to the pub or not. Again, for me, it will be additional staff just to monitor that situation. And I'm sure there must be objectors along Kings Road who'll get the bottles and that dumped in their gardens, as has happened in the past. Other than that, I've really no concerns about that business being there. I think it will affect, it will be a different clientele to what uses the pub. But those are my concerns about the glass, which I think is quite a concern in many ways, because there are lots and lots of race goers who will be going by there. And that's it, really. That's all I'm concerned about.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Again, can I initially ask members if they have any questions at all?
No, Chair.
No. Could I ask just on the question of the people using your facilities, and you're saying you have to regularly ask, you're having to ask them to move on. I mean, is that does that lead to any further problems at all, or?
In the last 9 years, probably twice have I had any sort of backlash from asking people to move on. And it's usually a load of abuse and what have you, but eventually they do move on.
Okay.
But as I say, that's Tesco's. I mean, this shop is going to be 100 meters away from me. And I just feel that once they come out of there, the first place they're going to stop It's right on the road. It's my decked area with all the benches and stuff. And I will have to police that because they're not allowed to drink there. It's got to be purchased off the premises.
Okay. Thank you.
Chair, may I ask a question? Actually, a question has come to mind. Thanks very much. Could I ask Mr. Armour, if people are drinking on your decking and they haven't bought alcohol from your premises, is that a contravention of your licence? Thanks.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Yeah. You can only drink on the premises alcohol purchased from the pub.
Thanks for clarifying that. Thank you.
So, the consumption of alcohol isn't licensable in itself.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear. Thanks. Yeah, understood. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Could I ask the applicant whether they have any questions to the objector?
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I think a lot of the concerns that is expressed, I think we've covered off within the application and within the further statements made today with regards to ensuring that certainly on race days we have additional litter picks. My client is used to dealing with.
Sorry, I'm only interrupting because really you just need to ask. You can only ask a question at this point.
No, I've got no questions, and I'll
Okay, no, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Ken. I think that completes that section of the meeting. Could I now ask the ward member, Councillor Phil Barnett, to make your representations? Again, you have up to 10 minutes.
Well, I can assure you, Chairman, members, very unlikely to be anywhere near 10 minutes. The site of the application is an area of great interest to me because I've spent probably the last 5 years continually addressing issues which are not related to licensing, but I'm in contact with all the residents in Boundary Road, Kings Road, Gordon Road, Mill Lane, Hambridge Road, all associated with a considerable amount of traffic problems. And it's a daily occurrence. And why I'm actually mentioning this is because it's quite relevant. I'm in contact with residents on a daily basis. And I actually mention various other things to the residents. And so far, I have to say, I've not received any interest on this application from any resident. Now, I probably will be challenged by the objector, but I'm being honest in relationship to the people that I speak to. So that's obviously the issue that I'm addressing it from. No interest directly from anybody as such at the moment. That doesn't mean to say that there probably is, but they've not addressed it with me. I'm obviously interested in the Pacific site because we do look at points of a large number of vehicles congesting around the area, and especially on the objector's site. And also, of course, because of traffic problems which exist in that is aspirated to the extent of a large number of vehicles that are trying to obviously bypass certain roadworks. And so I think you as members are going to have to look at, is it going to generate extra vehicles, as well as is it going to really involve a large number of extra pedestrians accessing the site. It's been mentioned, of course, predominantly on race days, whether it's a weekday meeting or weekend meeting, there is a large number of pedestrians that are probably coming from the town, probably coming from where they've been dropped off in the coaches or where they're being able to park other than actually on the racecourse itself. So the whole area actually does generate a large number of pedestrians. Whether they will be inclined to purchase liquid of alcohol content from the licensed premises that are already locally, or whether they're likely to purchase it from one of the supermarkets on the town, that is obviously their interest. Whether it's cheapness or whether it's convenience, that's their prerogative. My main concern is obviously, and the objector has made some comment, and that is relationship to the issues of glass. I think that is something that you need to really seriously consider, is the glass issue. I think you also need to consider the issue, and up to now, there's not a large number of antisocial behaviour activities in the area, but nevertheless, it could generate a certain extra amount. I suspect probably not, but I'm just flagging it up. And also, of course, the other issue is in relationship to the premises itself. Now, the applicants mention about fully trained, fully credited staff, and also interested in the issues surrounding litter, which, of course, us as members are very interested in. We don't want to see litter being generated in any area, whether it's outside fast food takeaways or whether it's in the area such as this application. But I think that is a point that you really need to consider, and let's hope that what's been mentioned by the applicant will come to fruition. Issue which has been mentioned in relationship to underage drinking. I've not actually experienced too much in that vicinity, but of course it does occur in other parts of the town. It's been noted, but it's something I think you also probably need to be aware of. I'm interested to hear that there will be cameras inside and outside the premises that's been put forward by the applicant. I think that is a very valuable asset to the application, and I think that needs to be, if you are mindful enough to consider this application, is part of the condition. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I haven't addressed, but I think probably the main points. The other point, probably finally, I would mention, I would very much hope that you will look at the application on its merits and not necessarily look at it in relationship to any form of competition, because I think this is an application regarding licensing premises and nothing to do with competition of any sort in any area within that part of the east end of the town. I'll conclude. Over to you, Chairman, for questions.
No, thanks. Thanks very much. Again, could I ask if members have any questions at all for the ward member?
Not for me, thank you.
Nigel?
Yeah, I have, Chair. Well, thanks very much, Councillor Barnett, for taking the time and trouble to come in and address us. I know you've been a ward member there for many years and have got a lot of experience of that area. Could I ask you just to elaborate a little bit more for the benefit of the members attending this committee, everybody attending this committee? I know that area is quite a residential sort of area. Would that be fair to say? And could you just elaborate if it's obviously on race days, the whole area changes because of all the race goers and parking, and as you pointed out. But could you just shed a little bit more light on whether this is a sort of semi-industrial part of the town or if it's pretty much a residential area? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, for that question. I think it's a little. I mean, if you say the residential area to the east will be obviously Junction Terrace and the small area of Hambridge Road, which is established residential going back long years because they are older property. Then if you look towards the west, not directly actually on the point of and I'm talking about west of the crossroads, what we commonly call the boundary Kings Road crossroads, then of course there is premises, and of course at some stage when they're completed and when they're occupied, there will be Sterling Gardens, which will probably attract what I might call a different type of residence, because they're obviously going to be apartments, whereas all the other houses predominantly, except for what used to be the old GP site and down Mill Lane, where there is flats, the rest of them are actually houses with gardens, basically. But where you are talking about the site itself, there is 2 or 3 industrial units, whether it's Newbury Tools or whether it's what used to be the old glass glazing building. There's 2 or 3 small units there, and of course also the site in question, of course, used to be a takeaway. So it's been recognised as that for some time. I hope that helps in your deliberations.
Yeah, thanks very much for clarifying that. That's helpful. Thank you.
Okay, and no other questions from members? Okay, I'd like to then finally ask the objectors or the applicant if they have any questions. I'll take Ken first. Any questions at all for the ward member? Okay, thank you. And from the applicant, are any questions for the ward member at all?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks very much. Okay, move to the next section, and I'd now like to invite the applicant if they wish to address any comments made at the subcommittee meeting.
I'd just like to sum up, if I can. This application and the applicant cannot be blamed for any current issues within the area. This has never been used as an off-licence before. The police are experts on crime and disorder, public nuisance, public safety, or harmful to children. The police are satisfied with this application as is. We've also offered today some extra conditions with regards to race days. There are no objections from any of the responsible authorities. There are 6 objections from local residents. And I'm sure, as the council has just mentioned, there are thousands of local residents within this area. There are 6 that have raised objections. And I think the majority of the objection is based on glass bottles being used during race days. An off-licence doesn't just sell bottles of vodka and bottles of Budweiser and stuff like that. They sell cans, they sell all sorts of, they sell alcohol in various different containers. They cannot they cannot open those containers, so they can't. It's not like that, with a pub they can use plastic glasses. An off-licence can't do that. They can't open a container and pour it into a plastic bottle or something like that for a customer. However, they are offering to have extra staff specifically to monitor the streets during race days, so that they can do extra litter picks and stuff like that, to make sure that if somebody does drop a bottle, they can go and they can sweep it up and get it off the street safely. They're also obviously happy. They would also obviously be happy to work alongside the pub to address any any issues. The things that Ken's brought up with regards to customers potentially using his beer garden and stuff like that, they'll put notices up in the shop asking people not to do that. If he has issues, he can come and speak to my client directly, or speak to the people in the shop directly. That my client has years of experience of running this type of business. He also runs a nightclub himself, a club and restaurant himself. So he knows all of the potential issues here. And he's not afraid to be able to address any of them should they occur. Right? But it's all supposition. It's all, if this happens, if that happens, it might not happen. And it might never be any worse than what it is currently. This is an experienced operator, an experienced trader. He's going to be bringing business to the area and going to be creating jobs. He's opening up a currently closed premises. And in today's day and age of, the costs of living and everything else, I think it's a very, very brave thing to do, to open up a new business. He doesn't even know whether this business is going to work, but he's going to give it a try. I think that's all I can say. And thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, and indeed Satpal for your contribution to the meeting. And indeed, I'd like to thank you all for your contributions today. Members will now retire to consider the oral representations made, as well as the written submissions set out in the agenda. A written decision notice will be issued to interested parties, setting out the verdict as soon as possible, but in any event, within 5 working days of the hearing. Thank you all for coming along to this meeting today.
Thank you.
I just ask a question. What is the percentage of alcohol which will be sold from your premises? Will the applicant be selling anything else other than alcohol?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to decline that question because I have effectively closed the meeting. I'm sorry. You could have raised this earlier. No. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to declare the meeting closed, and I think I'd just like to await confirmation that the Zoom host has ended the broadcast.